Hattori Hanzo, the samurai shadow who rewrote history. History usually agrees on one thing: who the heroes were. But every once in a while, history breaks its own rules. Names appear that refuse to stay in one category. Warriors who are not just warriors. Spies who are not just spies. Legends who feel more like riddles than people. And among them all, there is one name that refuses to behave like history wants it to. A name whispered in castles, carved into swords, hidden in theater scripts, and distorted across centuries of myth. That name is Hattori Hanzo. You may think you already know him. The ninja general, the loyal retainer of Tokugawa Ieyasu. The shadow behind the shogunate. The name borrowed by movie villains and anime heroes alike. But today, we are not chasing the legend. We are chasing the contradictions. Because when historians line up the records, the stories don't match. When folklore tells us one man, battlefield reports describe another. And when temples record his death, secret scrolls claim he never truly disappeared at all. This is not the story of a ninja. This is the story of how Japan's most dangerous samurai learned to weaponize invisibility itself. And by the end of this video, you won't be asking, who was Hattori Hanzo? You'll be asking something far more unsettling. How many times did he exist? Let's begin with the first myth we need to dismantle. Hattori Hanzo was not born a ninja. That alone changes everything. In the popular imagination, ninja emerge fully formed from shadow, already silent, already invisible, already trained in secret arts. But Hanzo's earliest records place him somewhere far more visible: the battlefield. His family, the Hattori clan of Iga province, were not shadow assassins by default. They were samurai, land-holding warriors sworn to loyalty, honor, and open combat. The same values as every other sword-bearing retainer in Sengoku Japan. But Iga was different. While most provinces trained soldiers for armies, Iga trained communities for survival. Mountains isolated its villages, roads twisted, borders blurred, and because invasion could come from any direction, every farmer, monk, and merchant learned not just how to fight, but how to vanish. The terrain itself became a classroom. Trees taught concealment, fog taught patience, silence taught power. Hanzo was born into that environment, but he wasn't shaped by stealth first. He was shaped by command. Historical documents describe him as unusually tall for the era, broad-shouldered, physically imposing. Not the image of a crouching assassin, but of a battlefield leader. A man meant to stand in front, not behind. Which raises a question no one likes asking. Why does Japan's most famous ninja look, in every surviving description, exactly like a samurai general? The answer lies not in what he learned, but in what he learned to pretend not to be. Because Hanzo's true genius wasn't invisibility. It was transformation. Now we reach the moment where legend claims its crown. The year is 1582. The Sengoku period is tearing Japan apart. Warlords rise, betray, fall, and rise again. Alliances shift faster than blades can be drawn. And in the center of this chaos stands a man who should not survive the night: Tokugawa Ieyasu. His ally, Oda Nobunaga, has just been betrayed and killed in Kyoto. The political shockwave is instant. Nobunaga's enemies are everywhere, and Ieyasu, trapped far from his own territory, suddenly becomes the most valuable target in Japan. Every road is blocked, every castle is hostile, every village could betray him for a reward. History textbooks usually tell this part quickly. They say Hattori Hanzo guided Tokugawa through Iga territory to safety. Simple, clean, heroic. But that version is missing something essential: fear. Because surviving documents don't describe a clean escape. They describe panic, chaos, fragmentation, group splitting, messengers disappearing, rumors of assassins in the forests, of rival clans offering bounties for Ieyasu's head. One letter from a Tokugawa retainer describes the night as a corridor of death, where every shadow could be a blade. And yet, Ieyasu survived. Which leads us to the first real mystery. How did a small group of men escort the most hunted man in Japan across hostile territory without a single confirmed ambush? Not defeated, not repelled, not fought, avoided. And that distinction changes everything. Because what Hanzo demonstrated that night was not stealth. It was information dominance. He didn't move through the darkness. He rewrote the darkness. Let's pause and ask a question historians rarely confront. What kind of man doesn't fight his enemies but make sure they never find him? That night, no armies clashed. No swords rang. No blood stained the ground. Instead, something far more unsettling happened. Information failed. Routes that should have been blocked were suddenly empty. Villages that should have reported sightings stayed silent. Enemy scouts followed false trails that led nowhere. By morning, rumors contradicted each other so badly that no one could agree where Ieyasu had gone. This wasn't stealth, this was misinformation warfare, and it reveals the real structure behind Hanzo's power. He didn't lead a group of ninja, he led a living network. Iga and neighboring regions weren't just territories, they were intelligence ecosystems. Families communicated through shrine visits. Monks passed coded messages disguised as prayers. Merchants altered travel schedules to redirect attention. Even theater performers carried rumors that could steer enemy forces miles off course. Hanzo didn't command soldiers, he orchestrated reality, which raises a disturbing possibility. What if half the battles attributed to ninja never involved blades at all? What if Japan's shadow wars were fought with rumors, absence, and silence rather than shuriken and poison? In that framework, Hanzo stops being a warrior. He becomes a strategist of perception. And suddenly, the question changes again. Was he hiding in the shadows or controlling who thought there were shadows at all? Here's where the story gets even stranger. Because after saving Tokugawa Ieyasu, Hattori Hanzo didn't retreat into the shadows. He stepped into the light. Historical records show that he was rewarded not with secrecy, but with status. He became a recognized samurai commander within the Tokugawa hierarchy. He was given land, authority, troops, and most unsettling of all, visibility. He wasn't hidden. He wasn't erased. He wasn't denied. He was promoted, which makes absolutely no sense if your job is to remain invisible. So why would the most famous ninja in Japan become one of the most public-facing figures in the emerging Tokugawa regime? Because Hanzo wasn't hiding from history. He was rewriting how power worked. In traditional samurai culture, power was demonstrated through banners, battles, and bloodlines. You ruled because people saw you win. But Hanzo operated on a different axis entirely. He didn't control territory, he controlled access. He didn't command armies, he commanded movement. And that's why Ieyasu didn't just protect him, he institutionalized him. Hanzo was placed in charge of the security of Edo Castle, not as a silent assassin, but as a visible gatekeeper. One of Edo's main gates was literally named after him, Hanzomon. Hanzo's Gate. Imagine that, a man known for invisibility, immortalized in architecture. That contradiction alone tells us something critical. Hanzo was no longer operating as a ninja. He was operating as a system. Now we step into territory where history starts to fracture. Because there is not one Hattori Hanzo. There are at least two. The most famous Hanzo, known as Hattori Hanzo Masanari, served Tokugawa Ieyasu during the unification of Japan. He was a battlefield commander, a security official, a public figure. But later records describe another Hanzo, a successor, Hattori Hanzo Masashige, also a warrior, also a leader, also associated with Iga, but described differently, less visible, more secretive, less celebrated. Two men, same name, same clan, same title. And here's the strange part. Some documents describe exploits attributed to Hattori Hanzo that could not possibly have been done by Masanari. They occur after his recorded death. Other stories describe tactics that contradict his known methods. And yet, the name remains the same. This isn't uncommon in Japanese history. Names were inherited, titles passed down. But in Hanzo's case, something unusual happened. The personality changed. The first Hanzo was loud by historical standards, visible, official, publicly honored. The second Hanzo fades, operates quietly, leaves fewer records, appears in rumors more than documents, which raises an unsettling possibility. What if Hattori Hanzo wasn't just a person? What if it was a role? Not a man, but a function. Not a warrior, but an office. And if that's true, then everything we think we know about ninja collapses. Because it means invisibility wasn't a skill, it was a job description. Thank you for watching. Japan's history still hides countless secrets, and we're just getting started. If you want to uncover more mysteries of samurai, ninja, and ancient Japan, subscribe and join us on this journey through time.